Okay. Thank you very much for joining us for the learning of Torah Hashem, Be'ezat Hashem. Today we're going to be learning Pirkei Avot, Pirkei Avot, as we prepare for Chag Matan Toratenu. As we have been mentioning, Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah. So before we receive the Torah on Shavuot, Be'ezat Hashem, we have to be familiar in the way that it is appropriate to behave, to conduct ourselves as Derech Eretz. And that comes first as we prepare for the receiving of the Torah Kedusha. Of course, we would like to thank our dear hosts that are always so generous and so kind to our shul, that they always host our shiurim. Thank you very much, Mrs. Soleimani, Yizkura Mitzvot, for hosting us, and may your house always be open for smachot and for happy occasions and for shiurei Torah and everything. Thank you very, very much. And of course, thank you to Mr. Yitzchak Soleimani as well, Yizkura Mitzvot. So the question was asked before we begin about what is Pirkei Avot. Just in a nutshell, Pirkei Avot is a compilation of Mishnayot, teachings from various Chachamim, from the generation of the Tanaim, from the early Tanaim. Tanaim means from the rabbis from the, I would say around 2000, a little bit over 2000 years ago, 2000 and a couple of hundred years ago, from the early Tanaim, Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel, and further down, Akiva, and all these wonderful sages of the Mishnah. And it's a compilation of all of their teachings that have to do with, primarily with midot, with the way that a person should conduct himself, with good behavior, with proper attitude towards life. And it gives a person the ability to focus his energies towards improving himself, his character, and working on himself. That's the general idea of Pirkei Avot. So last week we learned the Mishnah in Perek Aleph. Be'ezat Hashem, today I would like to learn with you a Mishnah in Perek Bet, and that is Perek Bet Mishnah Yud Gimel, and that is the teaching of Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, who actually is bringing down his students, his disciples, and then commenting on what they had to say. So let's learn it together, and Be'ezat Hashem will expand on each point that is made one part at a time. Says the Mishnah, Amar lahem, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai said to his 5 students, Tseu ur'u ezu derech tova sheidbak baha adam. Go and find out what is the good path that a person should cling to. So now each one of the students provides his answer. Rabbi Eliezer omer ayin tova. Rabbi Eliezer says a good eye. We're going to talk about what each thing means, but let's just go through the whole thing first, then we'll discuss. Rabbi Yoshua omer chaver tov. Rabbi Yoshua says, no, a good friend. Rabbi Yosef omer shachen tov. Rabbi Yosef says, a good neighbor. Rabbi Shimon omer haro'et hanolad. Rabbi Shimon says, a person who's able to see the future, to see the outcome of a particular act that he does. Rabbi Elazar omer lev tov. Rabbi Elazar says, a good heart. Amar lahem, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai told his students, Ro'eh ani et divrei Elazar ben Arach midivrechem. I like most the words of Elazar ben Arach, meaning lev tov, a good heart, more than what everyone else said, shebichlal dvarav divrechem, because included in a good heart is everything that was mentioned before. A good neighbor, a good friend, a good eye, seeing the future, is all included in a good heart. That's the Mishnah. So Baruch Hashem, we learned the Mishnah, and now I want to take it apart piece by piece. So first of all, Amar lahem, so he says to him, what is the right way that a person should cling to? What's the right path? So each one is choosing something that a person, in their opinion, should excel in. Let's take it step by step. Ayin tova. Ayin tova means a good eye. What it means to have a good eye, the simple understanding is to be generous, to be thoughtful, caring of others, and to be willing to give and to see things in a positive light. So the simple understanding is exactly what the pasuk in Mishle tells us. Tov ayin, somebody with a good eye, hu yevorach, he will be blessed. The person who has a good eye is going to be the recipient of blessings from Hashem. Now, like we said, Tov Ayin means that the person is generous. He's not selfish. He's willing to give. He's willing to give of himself. Such a person will receive blessing. Why will that person receive blessing? The reason is because the simple understanding is when Hashem bestows blessings upon somebody, so Hashem wants to see that that person is responsible with the blessings that Hashem gave him. So what that means is that if, let's say, somebody is blessed with, for example, a lot of wealth, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to see that the person understands that that wealth is not just all for himself. It's not just to take it and to spend it on whatever he feels like. It's there to do the right thing with it as well. And the right thing is to give it to different needy causes, whether it's a shul or a yeshiva or people who are in need of help or whatever the situation may be. HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects that the person should do the right thing. So somebody who has that tov ayin, he's generous. He wants to do well for other people. He wants to give them. So Hashem sees, this guy, he's a person who understands the message that I'm giving him. He understands that this is the right thing to do, not just to keep it all for himself, but rather to give it to the right places. So then hu yevorach, that guy will be blessed because Hashem says, he's a responsible person. So I can give him more responsibility. I can give him more to do. I can give him more money because he's going to now do the right thing with that as well. So a person who's got tov ayin, he will be blessed. Now, there's a beautiful, beautiful Gemara in Masechet Bava Batra about what exactly is the blessing. Okay? That's the question. In what way will he be blessed? So the Gemara in Masechet Bava Batra tells us the following. The Gemara tells us that a person who gives tzedakah to a poor person, if you give somebody who's poor food, or you give him money to live off of, so then you get blessed with 6 blessings. 6 blessings. If you are mefaiso bidvarim, which means that not only do you give him food, but you comfort him with words of comfort. You talk to him. You make him feel good. You make him feel like you're there to listen to him, to help him, that you're there to be there for him. You comfort him. You comfort his soul. Says the Gemara, that guy gets 11 blessings. So if you actually give him a quarter and you don't say a word to him, you just take it and goodbye, 6 blessings. A person who makes him feel good, who comforts him and says, hey, you're going to have a better situation. Don't worry, keep your head up. Everything is good. And you start talking to him to make him feel better. That guy gets 11 blessings in addition to the 6 that he got for the quarter. Okay? Now, what are these blessings? So it's brought down the following. There's a pasuk in Yeshayahu that says the following. Yeshayahu perek nunchet pasuk zayin. Halo pros laraev lachmecha. If you slice for the poor man, the hungry man, your bread, ve'aniyim merudim tavi bait, and you bring the very heavily impoverished people to your house to give them. Ki tir'e arum v'chisito. You see somebody who's naked, you cover him. He doesn't have clothing to wear, and you give him clothing. You do not turn away from your own flesh. In other words, you help them. So here we go. Now there's a list. The first 6 brachot. Number 1, Az yibaka kashachar orecha. Then shall your light burst through like the dawn. You're going to have your light shining forth like the dawn. Number 2, Varuchatcha merat titzmach. Your healing shall spring up quickly, which means that, God forbid, if a person was sick and needed a refuah shlema, he's going to get healing from that. Number 3, Vehalach lefanecha tzidkecha. Your vindicator shall march before you. What does that mean? It means when somebody, God forbid, is placed under judgment, he needs protection. He needs a lawyer. When you give that tzedakah, then there's a malach that's created. He's your lawyer. That's number 3. So you have a lawyer for you in heaven now. Number 4, Kvod Hashem yasfecha, Hashem's presence shall guard you. This is a guy who gave a quarter to a poor person. Okay. Number 5, Az tikra ve'Hashem ya'aneh. Then when you call out, Hashem answers. Number 6, Tishava vayomer hineni. When you cry out to Hashem, He will say, "Here I am." 6 blessings that the pasuk in Yeshayahu tells us happen when you give a quarter or any tzedakah to a poor man or food to somebody who's hungry. 6 brachot. Now, the pasuk in Yeshayahu continues. Vatafek laraev nafshecha. But if a person gives to the poor man his soul, meaning, I'm not just giving you a quarter and saying bye-bye. I'm actually going to sit down and talk to you. I'm going to try and make you feel better, lift up your spirits, make you feel comfortable, put a smile on your face. So, v'nefesh na'ana tasbiyah, you're going to help the soul of the poor person who's down in the dumps. Then, number 1, v'zarach b'choshech orecha, your light will shine in the darkness. Number 2, va'afelatcha katzoraim, even if life is gloomy, it's going to become like the afternoon with so much sun. V'nachacha Hashem tamid. Number 3, Hashem will always guide you. Number 4, v'hisbia b'tzachtzechot nafshecha, He will quench your thirst in dry places. Number 5, v'atzmotecha yechaletz, Hashem will give strength to your bones. Number 6, v'ayita kigan raveh, you'll be like a watered garden lacking nothing. Number 7, like a spring whose waters never fail. You're always flowing. You're always with shefa. All the ancient ruins will be built from you. Number 9, you shall restore nations foundations laid long ago. Number 10, you'll be called the repairer of fallen walls. Number 11, you will be known as the restorer of lanes for habitation. In other words, you will be somebody that the whole world stands on. Somebody like that is considered to be the one that He restored the lanes of the world, the lanes of habitation. The whole world is standing on this gentleman. For doing what? For having what we call ayin tovah. Not just that I'm giving you money, but I'm actually taking the time to speak to you, to talk to you, to care for you, to show you that you're not air. I see you and you mean something to me. It's a very, very special thing. Now take a look. What's the gematria of Tov? Let's do it. Tet is 9, right? 6 is right. 9 plus 6 is 15. Plus Bet is 2, 17. So how many brachot does the guy who gives tzedakah to the ani plus talks to him and makes him feel good? How many brachot does he get? 17. So tov ayin hu yavrach. The guy that has the tov ayin, he's going to get those 17 brachot. That's what it takes. You have to not only give, but also to make him feel good. But the point is that he will receive those blessings. So it's very important to understand that when a person does this, he gets a world of blessings. Now, for that reason, by the way, some shuls, what I'm saying might be something that people in other shuls may disagree with, but in our shul, I let the poor people, if they want to come to collect, I let them come even during davening, not at certain times, not during Shema, let's say during Amidah, of course not. But if they want to come and collect, no problem. And the reason is because God forbid that I should prevent from somebody to get these 17 brachot. I should hold somebody back from. So everyone's, a lot of different places, they say, no, they're bothering us, they're interrupting us, etc. Let them stand outside. Well, I don't see it that way. I see it as this is an opportunity for every person because look, we think we're doing for them something, but the truth of the matter is that they're doing much more for us than we're doing for them. That's a very important attitude we have to have when it comes to tzedakah. Now, tov ayin, the truth is not limited to money, not at all. Tov ayin is whatever a person is blessed with. If let's say a person is blessed with, he knows how to build things. He knows how to take things apart. And you have a neighbor that doesn't know how to build things. And they need help. So Hashem blessed you with the knowledge. Hashem blessed you with the capability to do it, and you can. So Tov Ayin means you're generous with your talents as well. You're generous with what Hashem blessed you with. Not only is it money, it's even things that you're capable of doing. And I want to share with you a very incredible story. We all know the story about the vineyard of Navot. You guys remember the story of Navot's vineyard? Kerem Navot? The story is like this. Navot was a man that had a vineyard. It was his ancestral heritage for many, many years. And what took place was that Navot one day was in his vineyard, and King Achav, who was the king of Israel at the time, desired his vineyard. He wanted it for himself, and he wanted to buy it. Navot said, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in selling. I want to keep it. It's my ancestral heritage. And Achav came home to his wife, Izebel. Izebel was a very wicked woman. And she said, what's the problem? I said, you're not happy. And he said, I'm not happy because I wanted to buy Navot's vineyard and I wasn't able to. And Izebel said, what's the problem? I'll take care of it for you, no issue. What she did was she hired 2 witnesses to say that this man, Navot, was rebelling or planning a rebellion against the king. And the 2 witnesses went and they testified against Navot in court and they killed him. And then then King Achav went and he took the field. The famous line, Eliyahu Navi then came to him and said to him, Haratzachta vegam yarashta? Did you not only you killed, but you also inherited? So, you're a murderer. At any rate, Navot died and he lost his field to King Achav. Very sad story. Now, the question that we have to ask is, what happened? Why did Navot die? Everything in Shamayim there's a reason, there's a calculation for why Hashem decided to take the life of Navot. If Hashem wouldn't have wanted that to happen, it wouldn't have happened. So what's going on? So there's a very interesting teaching from Chazal. It's in the Psikta Rabati in Chaf Hey 25. It says the following amazing idea. Like we just said, Tov Ayin means that you have to give of yourself, even not money, even talents. A person is talented in different ways and he can help others, he should do it. So says the pasuk, Kabed et Hashem mehoncha. Honor Hashem from your hon, from the abundance that Hashem gave you. Says Rashi over there, afilu kol arev. Even if the guy has a nice voice, he should use it in the honor of Hashem. He should use it for good. So he has to use his talents for good. So explains the Psikta an amazing thing. Navot, every holiday, as you know, there's a mitzvah, the 3 festivals. You're supposed to go to Yerushalayim Kodesh, the pilgrimage, to bring offerings there and to, so to say, connect with Hashem, to be seen by Hashem at the holy places in Yerushalayim. Navot was there every single festival and he had a beautiful voice. And everybody loved listening to his voice. It was something that was it was something everyone looked forward to hearing Navot be Chazan over there. That festival, Navot didn't go. Now, there's something very special about the 3 festivals, which is a miracle, an open miracle. If you have an entire country leaving their homes, then the entire country is extremely vulnerable to an attack because nobody's there. Everybody's in Yerushalayim. Everybody's concentrated in one place. So you need a special bracha from Hashem that the land should be safe. So that's why it says in the Torah, when everybody goes to Yerushalayim for these 3 festivals, V'lo yachmod ish et aretzecha. No one will desire your land. You're going to be safe. Everything will be fine. Nobody will touch you. Your land will be okay. Nobody will desire your land. So when does that bracha come true? When you go. But if you don't go, then you don't have V'lo yachmod ish et aretzecha. You don't have that no one will desire your land. And since he stayed, he didn't want to share his voice with everybody. He said, you know what, this holiday I'm going to be home. I'll keep it to myself, right? So then you don't have that blessing, that protection, that nobody desires your land. And guess what happened? King Achav desired his land. And the whole thing happened. So here's a person that he's always giving. He's always doing. Tov Ayin, this guy's going to get bracha for always using his beautiful voice in the Bet HaMikdash. But you stop? That's not good. It could be the whole reason why Hashem put you here on this earth is so that you should sing at the Bet HaMikdash. And if a guy decides, you know what, I'm stopping, so Hashem says, okay, I'm stopping too. Right? The sad thing, think about it. You don't realize it could be that that's what it's all about. So the Tov Ayin, the guy who uses his talents, his abilities, if you know how to sew something, you know how to weave something, you know how to do anything that you're blessed with, any kind of talent that you've got, you know how to cook, you know how to do whatever it may be, you know how to do makeup, who knows what. But you can use your talents for wonderful. You're blessed with that. So you have a wonderful opportunity to be Tov Ayin with that, to give that over to others who may need that. You could offer that help to someone. That's definitely fulfilling the idea of Tov Ayin. Ra Ayin, which is the next Mishnah, that talks about a person who is stingy, who's cheap. That's exactly the opposite. Everything is about me and what I can take and what I'm supposed to get. And that is a very bad quality to have. As we know, Esav came to, what's the gematria of Ra Ayin? Let's do the math. Ra is Reish Ayin, so 270, right? And Ayin is, again, 70 plus 10, 80, plus Nun, 130, so 270 and 130, 400, okay? So 400. So how many men did Esav come to Yaakov with? 400 men, right? What was the conversation between Esav and Yaakov? Esav says, I don't need your gift. Yesh li Rav, I've got a lot. Yaakov says, no, yesh li kol, I have everything. What's the difference? Esav says, I have a lot, but I could always have some more, right? There's always room for more. He's ra'ayin, he's cheap, he's stingy, he wants to take always, right? Ephron was the one that sold Me'arat HaMachpelah to Avraham Avinu, the place where Sarah and Adam and Chava are buried. And Ephron, what was the discussion between Ephron and Avraham? Avraham wanted to buy it. Ephron wanted to give it as a gift. And there's a back and forth, no, take it as a gift. No, I guess they call it tarof, right? He was tarofing, but in the worst way. He was back and back and back, again. And at the end of the day, he says to Avraham, listen, Avraham, a land that's worth 400 shekel kesef between me and you, what is it? Just take it. So he mentioned the number 400 shekel. Avraham said, okay, here's 400 shekel, take it. And he took it. He took the money. How much was it? 400. It's a sign that Ephron was ra'ayin. He was cheap. He was stingy. He wanted to take all the time. That's why the whole time the word Ephron is spelled Ayin Pei Reish Vav Nun. After he took the money, Ayin Pei Reish No Vav Nun. Because Ephron with a Vav is 406. Take away the Vav, it's 400. That's his essence. He's ra'ayin. He's cheap. He wants to take. It's a very bad quality. A person has to work on himself to be happy for the success of their friends. That they should feel that when their friend does well, when their friend achieves, they are happy for them. Everybody has different difficulties in life. And it's very important to constantly remind ourselves that even if we see somebody succeeding and doing very well with all kinds of wonderful things, Baruch Hashem, that's happening, and we start to get jealous and say, well, how come not me? And how come I can't drive that car? And how come I can't have that husband? And how come I can't have this and that, et cetera, et cetera? You have to remember, it's not just like that. Everybody has their story behind the closed doors as well, what they're going through in their own lives. It's important to remember that. Very important. I recently had a discussion with somebody, I'm not going to say who, that they basically lost their best friend. What happened? Why did they lose? Not that the person died, but they severed their relationship. What happened? Why did they die? Well, not die, God forbid. What was wrong with the relationship? This woman had a baby. And the other lady, she has a hard time having kids. And she has kids, but she wants more. And she has a hard time. So what's her crime? Why can't she talk to her friend? Because she had a baby. And you told me that you're having a baby? I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you. Because there's a certain, what about me? Same person also, when it came to seeing other people do well in their businesses, she's complaining, how come they're doing so well? And, meanwhile, she also, Baruch Hashem, has children, a family, she's got her own house, she's got a lot of different things that she's blessed with. But at the same time, she's looking at everybody else. The grass is always greener on the other side. It's a very big problem. As we're going to learn later in the Mishnayot, it says that Ayin Hara is one of the things that is Motzi et Adam ila olam. A person can't live life like that. It kills a person's entire life. It's a toxic life. So it's so important for us to understand that we have to work on this midah of ayin tova, to look at how we can give to others, how we can do well for others with whatever it is that we have, and not look at what everybody else has and try and be jealous and try and take from them. Very important. Okay, so that's all when it comes to ayin tova. The Mishnah continues. Rabbi Yehoshua Omer chaver tov. Rabbi Yehoshua says the main thing is you have to do the midah of chaver tov, a good friend. What does that mean? So we have different explanations here. So number one, what is a chaver tov? Let's talk about the idea of chaver tov. Who are the best friends we could think of in the Tanakh? Anybody? David and Yonatan. I think that's the number one example. Yonatan and David were the best of friends, and Yonatan's father Shaul was trying to kill David. But Shaul, although he tried, Yonatan saved David. And Yonatan came up with a plan, and he was able to inform David of whether or not Shaul was coming after him or not. And he, at risking his own life, he protected his very good friend David. That's the idea that Chaver Tov is there for you to rely on him when you need. And says Rabbeinu Yonah, over here, it's not just about finding a Chaver Tov, it's also being a Chaver Tov, making sure that you yourself are doing good for other people, for your friends. I'll share with you a story, an incredible story actually, from Rabbi Pesach Kron. He says something quite amazing. There was a group of friends, bunch of families, that every year they used to go away together on vacation. And they would go, maybe it was the winter break, I don't know exactly where it was, but they would always go together. It was 4 families that would travel together on vacation. Every year they would always have a blast. And it was the same time of year again, and they were about to plan this year's vacation, where they're going to go to. And one wife calls the other, and she says, I'm so excited, we're about to go away, all of us together again, where should we go? So this lady says, I'm sorry, but it doesn't look like we can come this year. She says, what are you talking about? She says, no, you don't understand. This year, my husband's business hasn't been doing so well. And, it's not really something that we can afford this time. So, you guys go have a great time, but we're not coming. So, okay. She discusses it with her husband and with everybody else. And they call back this family and they say, listen, no such thing. We've been going together for years, and it's not going to change. We're paying for you guys. No issues. You're coming with us. We're all going on vacation together, just like we always do. They said, really? They said, yes, there's no such thing. We're a group. We're friends. We're not leaving you behind. They were very thankful, and they all went on vacation together. Somewhere, I don't know where it was. Fine. So they're there on vacation. And this is a story that the lady is telling at a Seudat Hoda'ah that she made for the following event. They're there on vacation. And she says that everybody was either upstairs, the ladies were upstairs in one place, the husbands were with everybody else, and the kids were downstairs in the arcade. And the kids were in the arcade, but the arcade was like near the big swimming pool over there. And one of the dads comes down to check on the kids. And he sees that one kid is missing. He doesn't know what's going on. So he says, does anyone know where so-and-so is? And they say, no, we didn't see him. We didn't pay attention. We don't know. He got worried. Maybe, God forbid, he's in the pool. He looks in the pool, and sure enough, he sees him at the bottom of the pool. He fell in. He was a little kid. He dives in. He grabs him. He saves him. And he happens to be also a Hatzalah member. So he managed to, do CPR, resuscitate him, and they got him to the hospital. And Baruch Hashem, he saved him. He saved his life. Okay. So this woman gets up to speak at the Seudat Hoda'ah, and she says, we were debating amongst ourselves, what to do when this family said they're not able to come. And we decided that we have to bring them. They're our friends. We have to do the right thing for them. And then it occurred to me, they thought that we were doing them a favor. But who was the dad that saved this kid? It was the father of the family that they weren't going to come. By them bringing this family, they ensured that their child would be alive. Amazing. But that's what happens when you're chaver tov. Chaver tov means that even when times are difficult, even when it's not the easiest thing, you're there for your friend. That's called being a chaver tov. And it comes back to you. There's a very interesting question that came up from the parasha this past Shabbat. We learned in the parasha, the pasuk tells us, "Ve'afta l'reacha kamocha, ani Hashem." You shall love your fellow like you love yourself. I am Hashem. I was in Los Angeles not too long ago, and they have in LA benches all over the city. Benches, random benches that they say that very interesting doing that. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. I understand. You want to tell me mitzvah? Very good. Love your fellow like you love yourself. What is the Ani Hashem, I am Hashem? So I saw a beautiful pshat from Chacham Vadia Alav Shalom. He brings it down from Sefer Ma'ayanot Shel Torah, and he says the most incredible thing. He says there were two friends that were best of friends. They loved each other like Yonatan and David. And he says that somehow some random people, they didn't like one of the two friends, and they made false allegations to the government that this guy is doing things that are illegal, and they went and they took this guy to jail. And the guy denied it. They didn't believe him. They brought witnesses against him, false witnesses, and the guy was sentenced to death. And this person is now being taken out to be hanged publicly. And his friend, who's his best friend, who tried everything he could for him, he's standing there and he's watching them about to, they take the rope, they wrap it around his neck, and they're about to hang this guy. And he's seeing it about to happen. The executioner is walking over, and this is all being done in the presence of the king, who's there showing everyone, if you rebel against me, this is what happens to you. So they're about to kill this man, and the friend who loved him so much, he couldn't bear to see his friend die like that. So he runs up to the executioner, and he says to him, stop. And he says, what is it? He says, there's a mistake. You got the wrong guy. It was me. I'm the one who is supposed to be hanged because I did all these crimes. And then the friend who saw what his friend is doing for him said, it's not true. He's lying. He's trying to save me. I'm the one that did everything. You have to kill me. And there was a fight back and forth. And the executioner didn't know what to do. So he turned to the king. And the king said, both of you come speak with me. And they told him exactly what happened. The whole thing was false allegations. None of it's true. And the king said, okay, nobody's going to be killed over here. But I have one request from you, he says. I see that you have such an amazing friendship that you were willing to die for your friend. And when you saw that he was willing to die for you, you decided to die for him and say that it was yourself. You have the most incredible friendship. The king said, I want to be a part of your friendship. I want to be number 3 in this relationship. I want to be in. Hashem says, you shall love your fellow like you love yourself. That what? That you have such a love for your fellow Jew. You have such a good relationship with him. Hashem says, Ani Hashem. I want to be in there too. I want to be in that relationship as well. So that's the reason that those two words are there. So important for us to understand. When you show love to a fellow Jew, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has happiness, and he brings the Shekhinah in the middle.
There's a question.
Yes.
It's actually very relevant.
Sure.
So we learned this, right? And I actually live that way. And now I have to give the example because it's been very concerning to me. So a good friend of mine is in a very bad situation. The spouse is not only cheating, is also now physically hurting her. Okay, I'm sworn to secrecy. She says, if you tell anybody, I will tell them that you are crazy and you are lying. People will believe. Anyway.
Okay.
So now I said, I can't leave it like this. I couldn't sleep. I said, we're supposed to help everyone as if they're ourselves. How could I leave her like this? I can't. Fine, I'm not allowed to tell anyone else. I'm going to call the rabbi and share what he told and ask this rabbi. Rabbi told me to leave it alone. if she doesn't want help, you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. I said, no, it's not true. Her eyes are closed. My eyes have been closed, and I wonder why my friends forced me to try to open them, for example. So I said, no, we have to help her as if it's herself. I want to do to her what I want to do. They forced me to open mine. Nope, can't do it. Then I I debated calling another rabbi. I'm walking out of shop the light. Bam, I run into him and his wife. I was like, okay, it's from Hashem. I'm holding all these groceries. I'm too cheap to buy 10 more bags from them.
Okay.
So literally like this, and I'm like grapes in one hand. So I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I have to tell you, it's whatever it is. It's, we have to. Sorry, I have to leave out some details in order. I said, we have to help her. I'm like, it got to the point where he almost killed her. Yeah, he couldn't, no, we have to do something about it. And they said, well, actually, we're aware of it. It happened 3 years ago. I said, but it's been going on. It stopped for 3 months and it's still going on. We have to do something. The same thing. Unless she wants to be helped, we cannot help her. We can't do anything. Stay out of it. I said, can we at least get her self-defense lessons and like that? Leave it. Stay out of it. I'm very bothered by this response because this is the way we learn. How could I leave it? I wouldn't want someone to leave me, and there's not one other soul that she tells. Mm-hmm. So where does that fit into only help them? These are two big rabbis. I think only help someone who is ready to be helped and wants to be helped. Is that true? At what point do you have help your neighbor as if you help your
Yeah.
At what point do we force it?
If you think that her life is in danger, then you have to do something.
Two big rabbis said, don't leave it.
No, if you think that, God forbid, her life is at risk, you have to do something. It could be called the authorities. It could be whatever. If you think that she's at risk of losing her life, you have to do something. If it's really like that, But if
even if she
the question is that the case? You understand?
It is the case because she couldn't move her neck for 3 days to start to choke her. So it is the case. And the rabbis know this, and they still said to not. So let's say her life weren't in danger. At what point are we supposed to back off, and at what point are we supposed to push?
Listen, some people, they might be in a relationship that is not good for them, but you talk to them, you try and explain to them that this is not good, it's not healthy, it's not this, not that. It's like talking to a wall. You try again and again and again and again and again.
Though, right?
No, but at a certain point, you understand that that's not going to change. They want to be in that relationship. But if you're telling me that the person is at risk of losing her life, then you're right. You have to step in. There's just nothing you have to maybe call the authorities. You have to do something, to cause it to not happen.
And even if they're not in risk of losing their life, if somebody doesn't want the help, but we know they need the help, is it true that she shouldn't, she shouldn't? Let's say I have a drinking problem, and she keeps coming over saying, "Rory, you have to stop." And I say, "No, I'm going to drink. I want to drink." And then they tell her, "No, Rory doesn't want to be helped. Stay away." Should she stay away? Or should she coming and knocking on my house and stop and throw out the alcohol? Well, you would do that.
So it's a tricky situation. It's tricky, sometimes, of course, you have to try as much as you can. It also depends on how much strength and energy you have. If sometimes you talk and you try and you make an effort and you see it's not going anywhere and you yourself give up hope. That could also happen. It depends on how much you try. Of course, you should try and do something, but at the same time, it has to be the right circumstances, because there is some truth to that. Some people just don't want to get helped.
Right.
They're just not interested. And you try and there's nothing to do. So sometimes it happens. But yeah, chaver tov means to be there in that kind of situation as well. Absolutely, I agree. But at the same time, there are times where there's nothing. You want to be chaver tov, but they're not receptive to it. So it depends on the circumstances.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So now, Rabbi Yossi Omer shachen tov. Rabbi Yossi says that a person should work on the idea of a good neighbor. What does that mean? It means that, of course, number one, you should surround yourself with good neighbors. Baruch Hashem, in our neighborhood, we have done that very well. Baruch Hashem, it's wonderful. We have wonderful neighbors all around us, because the Rambam writes very clearly that a person is definitely influenced by his surroundings. And when you have people around you that behave in certain ways that are inappropriate and correct, they will affect you whether you like it or not. It'll change your outlook. It'll change the way that you think. It'll change your behavior yourself in a certain way. You'll become more desensitized to certain things that you were more sensitive to in the past. No question about it. So yes, you have to surround yourself with good neighbors, but sometimes it's not in your control who your neighbors are. Sometimes you move to a good neighborhood and good neighbors move out and other people move in. Sometimes it's not in your control. So says Rabbeinu Yonah again, work on being a good neighbor. You should be a good neighbor yourself to other people around you. You can do, again, always, you can do good for them. You can help them. You see the guy is building a sukkah and he's having a hard time and the guy, can come over and help him out. That's being a good neighbor. There's pasuk in Mishlei that says clearly, Tov shachen karov me'ach rachok. Better to have a close neighbor than a distant brother. Because a distant brother, he's far away. He's not around. He's not there for you. He's not, you can't have a relationship that, he's in the middle of nowhere. But a neighbor, you see him day in, day out, constant contact with the person. So it's important to invest in good relationships with good neighbors. So that's very important. Says Rabbi Shimon, this is of course Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Haro'eh et hanolad, right? So this is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. A person should be considerate of the future. Meaning, when you do a certain deed, what will the outcome of that deed be? When you decide certain decisions, what will the outcome be of your decisions? You have to think ahead of time about what it will mean for you and for your family. So there's a story about two children that were in class, and the teacher warned both of them that they better stop doing certain things or else they're going to get punished. And at this moment, one of the two boys envisioned the punishment. He was what we call ro'eh. Ro'eh, he saw it. He saw the punishment. He saw himself writing on the chalkboard, I will not speak during class. I will not speak during class. He saw himself writing it 100 times on the board. And therefore he said, I don't want that. So he left it. The other kid, he didn't think about it. So therefore he ended up doing it and he got the punishment. He had to write 100 times on the board, I will not speak in class. The idea is when you use your imagination, when you use the power of imagination to envision what will the result be if I do this. And you think about it, God forbid if a person says something that's going to harm somebody, hurt somebody, and that person will find out. You imagine, wow, what are they going to tell me? You're a lying, two-faced, who knows what, all kinds of things. And you envision that, you feel that that's what's going to come. So you're ro'eh hanolad, you see the outcome of what you're doing. And that will help you to make the right decision of whether or not, yes, to do it or not. Should I send to this yeshiva? See the outcome in your mind, envision it. What is going to be as a result from what you are doing? Okay. And then last but certainly not least, comes along Rabbi Elazar, and he says, Lev Tov. Rabbi Elazar says, no, you have to have Lev Tov, a good heart. Now, comes along Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, and he says, Ro'eh ani et divrei Elazar ben Arach midivrechem. I think that last statement of having a good heart is the number one statement here. Why? Shebichlal dvarav divrechem, because included in what he said is everything that you said. Let's explain. Lev Tov means that your heart is pure, that your heart is, first of all, sameach bechilko, happy with what it has, happy, sincerely happy with all the blessings that Hashem gave that person. The person has midot tovot, he's got a positive outlook on life, he's a positive person, he connects with the right people, he's a lev tov, he's a good person, all he wants to do is good. So that's an attitude, the heart that has all of those things, it spreads outward to everything else, to the rest of your life. And says Rabbeinu Yonah over here, the reason I bring up Rabbeinu Yonah is because on Pirkei Avot, Rabbeinu Yonah is the master over here, he's always quoted. Rabbeinu Yonah says, and one more thing is lev tov, that you are what we call savlan. You are patient. It's something that it's very hard to make you angry. You don't get angry so easily. He says, meshiv b'ma'aneh rach. When he responds to somebody, even if it's something that is important for him to deal with, he does it in a soft way. The idea being that this person does not get angry almost from anything. I want to take a moment to speak about this because Rabbi Yonah's point here is very important. Rabotai, anger is asur, forbidden. Anger is forbidden. Asur, just like you can't eat treif because it's forbidden. Anger is forbidden. Asur, you're not allowed to get angry. Period. At all. I once heard from Rabbi Abraham J. Torsky. What? No. That's why I know what I'm saying right now. I know that it's not easy. I know that. But that's what I'm trying to explain. I understand. Believe me, I get it. Abotai, I need to talk about this because it's extremely important. Extremely important. Okay? It says in the Gemara, I heard this is a famous Gemara, but I want to share with you a comment from Rabbi Abraham J. Torsky, which I think is very important. It says in the Gemara clearly, Kol hakoes ki'ilu oved avoda zara. A person who gets angry, it's as though he worships idols. Again, worshiping idols is the kind of thing that a person, if they put a gun to his head and they say, either you bow down to the statue or we shoot you, I'm sure that every one of us in this room would say, shoot him. Because we're not bowing down to idols. Our forefathers died for that. Everybody in our history said we're not doing that, and neither are we. We're not bowing down to idols for nothing, right? Anger is worshiping idols. Inha mislehamu. Is that right?
Yes.
Right? Same thing. Okay? Same thing. Okay? The idea being that why does somebody get angry? Okay? Why does someone get mad? What makes a person get angry? What makes a person get angry is that he thinks or she thinks that things are supposed to go my way. I said something, that's what should happen. Right? If it's not what I said, that makes me mad. Understand? It's not what I said. I said it should be A, B, C, and it's not A, B, C. So it makes me very mad. So who's God? Who's in control of everything? You believe that you're in control of everything. That's why if something doesn't go your way, you get mad. Okay? So that means that you right now are saying that you are God. That's why you're getting mad. Because what do you mean? You didn't do what I said? It's me. I'm like God. So anger is like worshiping idols. Okay? It's amazing. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So having control of the situation is one thing, but what if it's somebody who deliberately goes out of their way to ruin your life, make your day miserable, make sure you have a bad day, make sure you are not happy that day, month, whatever it is.
Right. So
How do you not get angry?
you can't control you can't control what other people do, but you can control your reaction. You have to understand that everything that happens is min Hashem, right? It's from Shamayim, and therefore all I can do is say, okay, Hashem, you want me to go through this? I have to go through it, but I understand it comes from you. So why should I get angry at that guy? It's from you, Hashem. You decided. That's exactly what happened when David HaMelech was leaving Yerushalayim, running away from his enemies, and Shimei ben Gera comes and starts to curse him and tell him, you're this and you're that. And David's general said, I could chop his head off if you want. David said, no, because Ki Hashem amar lo kalel. Hashem told him to curse me. It's not something that is from any other source other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So really you have to ask Hashem, why? What's going on? Is there a message that I'm supposed to take from this? But it's not that person. You're directing your anger to the wrong spot. It's like the dog that's being hit by the stick and he's chasing after the stick instead of the person holding the stick, right? So the
Then we're
idea,
mad at Hashem.
What?
So I hate that because then we're mad
it's
at
not
Hashem.
mad at Hashem. You shouldn't be mad. You should say Hashem obviously is doing something to me. So I have to understand why. What's the message? What's the lesson? So the point that I'm trying to bring out, though, says Rabbi Abraham J. Torsky beautifully. If someone is considered to be an observant person, he says so nicely. Allah Shalom. He says, let's say somebody, would say, that guy, he's a wonderfully observant from man. From time to time, he eats Kentucky Fried Chicken. He goes to McDonald's every now and then. He's a totally observant guy. He's totally 100% shomer Torah mitzvot. Every now and then, he commits adultery. You know, once, twice a month.
Is that worse than
Right?
Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Does that there, you don't find such things, right? There's nobody says anything like that, right? Doesn't make sense. So then how come over here, right? It's the same thing. He's a wonderfully observant guy, 100%. But every now and then he worships idols. Every now and then he gets angry. It's saying every now and then he worships idols. But that anger is asur, forbidden. I tell this to my chatanim all the time. They have to know anger is forbidden. There's no permission to get angry. It's asur.
He raises the table of Iranian women.
Right? I know. No, but I'm trying to explain. That's called lev tov. Person that has no anger in their heart. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, you want to know what lev tov means? No anger. They accept everything. They understand that everything is min hashamayim. Again, I'm not telling you that it's easy. I'm not telling you that I've never gotten angry. I'm not telling you that I'm perfect, or that anybody's perfect. But I'm telling you that we have to work on it. We have to work on ourselves. We cannot let the blood start rising up from our legs all the way up until it comes up all the way to the top of our head, and then the smoke starts shooting out. Cannot let that happen. Asur. You can't lose control. Cannot lose control. It's forbidden. So that over here says, Rabbeinu Yonah, that's lev tov. Because this person now has everything that was mentioned before. This guy is the guy that's going to be a good friend. He's going to be a good neighbor. He's going to be sensitive enough to think and consider the outcome of the things that he does. He's the guy that's going to be generous and thoughtful of other people and get all the 17 brachot that we talked about in the beginning when he gives tzedakah, because he's a lev tov. He's not mad at people. He's not the guy that when the person comes to get tzedakah, he says, how come you don't get a job? How come you don't this and that? Why don't you, he starts giving people a piece of his mind. He's a lev tov. He's a good heart. So bichlal dvarav divrechem. Included in what he said, says Rabban Yochanan Zakkai, is everything that everybody else mentioned. The good heart. Because the heart is the source of the whole body, and from there it spreads outward to the rest of the body. So that's a very important thing to understand, that when a person works on their patience and works on not getting angry, that is the source of all blessing for everything. So Abotai, I think it's very important that we work on these attributes. Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us all before Matan Torah to work on these things and to grow in these areas. And that way it should be a true Kabbalat Torah, God willing. And it should bring us all the brachot that we're talking about. Chazakim Ruchim. Thank you for joining us today.